I'm really looking forward for some input, comments, ideas concerning what happened last Saturday. Let me preface my story by saying we live in a brand new condo and have lived here for a little over a year. When we first moved in here, one of my cats was reacting to something she sensed upstairs. I was alone at one time and noticed she was all puffed and growling lightly, looking up at the stairs. And her eyes were all pupil. This was the very first time I saw her appear mean. She always has such a calm, sweet demeanor. So I grabbed my phone and put the camcorder on and began videotaping the stairs as I went up them. My cat wouldn't follow me at first. She looked truly frightened. When she did start up the stairs, she went up one step, stopped, and waited a full minute before taking another, and so on and so on. My daughter, who is 14 and frequently sees auras, has sensed something here that comes and goes. Although she's a little afraid and uneasy, she is okay with it. My 10-year-old son tends to be more creeped out. But we are all fine. I'm prone to believe it's my father who passed away 3 years ago. Now, last Saturday, I had taken my son to an early soccer game and asked my daughter to get ready while we were away, since we were going to see family after my brother's game. My son and I got home and began going up the stairs to our condo. We were on the second floor, only to find Caitlin sitting on the stairs. While she wasn't scared, she wanted to know which one of us wrote "Trust Me" on the bathroom mirror. I can see by her face that she wasn't kidding. And she could tell by our faces that we had no idea what she was talking about. We entered the condo, went to our second floor bathroom, put the shower on and closed the door for the room to steam. While we waited, Caitlin showed us a picture of it. A couple of minutes later, we entered the bathroom and there it was. Trust me. I write it with a quotation mark because that's how it appears. I am certain my daughter would not pull this kind of prank, because she takes spirits far too serious to scare us with a prank like this. And it could not have been my son for 2 reasons. First, the writing is way nicer than Brendan ever could write. And 2, Brendan writes R's and U's without the tail, or a straight up and down line. The writing in the mirror uses a tail, and no offense to my son, but even if he was trying to disguise his handwriting, he wouldn't have done it using tails on letters and by writing so neatly. Okay, so does anyone have any input? I do have to say we're all creeped out. I have pictures I can upload if interested. Thanks, everyone. When I was 16 years old, my father passed away, and this caused me to waver in my faith. I was born and raised Catholic. I wasn't really participating Catholic, but I had my beliefs. Well, at the time I questioned why would he take my father away from me. So I was mad. I was 17 years old and just got a car and loved to drive. I was invited over to my friend Anthony's house one summer night and decided to go hang out with him. A little about Anthony. He is what I refer to as a acquired taste. Very dark, messy, and does things for attention, but for some reason I liked hanging out with him because I never got into trouble. A lot of it was my mother couldn't stand him and my father was indifferent to him. But my mother not liking him made me want to hang out with him more. So we're hanging out at his house in his basement playing video games and chatting. After a while, we were just talking about nothing really in particular, but he made a comment and I said, "Oh God." Without missing a beat, he says, "God, huh? You still believe there's a God?" "I'm not sure anymore. I haven't really seen much proof since my dad died," I said. "God is a fraud. It's all smoke and mirrors," he said, and at the exact moment, the lights flickered quickly. "Did you see that?" I said. "Need any more proof?" he said, laughing. "Dude, just stop it," I said and stood up. He walked past me and went to the bookshelf and took a Bible out. He threw it on the ground and said, "I'll show you there is no God. I'm going to take a piss on this Bible and watch. God won't stop me." At that moment, I was done and wanted to leave. I turned to leave and I noticed that it got really hot in the room. My back was to Anthony, but he wasn't saying anything. I got a really bad feeling, like a horror movie. I turned around to see him frozen in place, his head tilted back and his mouth open. I was in shock. "Anthony, are you alright?" And I noticed a foul, rotten egg smell, and his head snapped back into place, and I see his eyes roll on the back of his head, and the lights flicker again, but came on very dim. I was thinking he was up to his old tricks. "Knock it off," I stated, and he started laughing maniacally, and his voice started to deepen throughout the laugh. I started to freak out a little and went to leave again. All of a sudden, I felt a hand on my shoulder, and he steps in front of me, blocking my way. I could feel how hot his hand was through my shirt. I pushed him off of me and started moving backwards as he advanced slowly. I tripped over the Bible on the ground, and finally he started talking in a deep, grundle voice in a language I didn't understand. At this point, I am completely believing that he's not kidding. I've known him for years, and I know he barely has the grasp of English language, let alone a foreign one. Not knowing if it would even help, I pick up the Bible and he winces and moved his head away and fell to the ground with his body kneeling and his head resting on the couch. I open the Bible and just start reading it out loud. I couldn't even tell you what I was reading. I was just so freaked out. I turn the page and hear his voice, ever so slightly, but still in that deep voice. "Stop it." I ignore him and just keep reading. All of a sudden, the Bible was pushed from my hands by some supernatural force. I look at him and I see he's drooling and his eyes are all white. And he says, "I've been watching you, and I will always be watching you. I will come back to visit in 7 years. Right after that, the lights go back on, full power, and he's literally thrown onto the ground and just starts coughing and rolling around like he's in pain. I stand back as he sits up and says, "What the hell happened?" I say, "Anthony, I have to leave right now." He tries to stop me, but I just run out. I head to my car and I can hear that voice in my head. Anthony and I stayed friends for a few years after this incident, as he asked me not to tell him what happened. He says he completely blacked out and doesn't remember a thing. Now, I know how this story sounds. Even typing it seems far-fetched, but it happened just the way I described. After that, we lost touch, but as I think back on it right now, maybe my mother had a point. When I was 19 years old, I got a job at a local fast food joint. I worked in the morning shift and would attend college at night. My manager and I would meet up at the same time every morning, 8 a.m. He would unlock the doors and let us in, then lock the store back up behind us. I would start preparing all the food while he grabbed the deposit and made his way to the bank, locking the doors behind him, leaving me there alone to finish up prepping for the day. One morning, after my manager had left, I was in the middle of prepping the vegetables for the day when I noticed from my station that there was a man in the front of the store, waiting at the register. I only had a quick glance at him, but I noticed I couldn't see his face, as if there was a shadow covering it. I yelled up at him that I'd be up there in a second. I disposed of my gloves and made my way out of the kitchen to the register. The gentleman was gone at that point. I figured my manager forgot to lock the door behind him after he had left for the bank, and the man figured the store was open and ready for business. Shortly after, my manager had returned with the cash he needed for the day. I told him he forgot to lock the door behind him because a customer came in. He looked at me puzzled and said that he just unlocked the door to let himself in. I explained to him what happened, and he just chuckled. He then told me a story of a man who was killed right outside of our store after buying some food, beheaded by an 18-wheeler on his motorcycle. This man would occasionally visit the store, forever to repeat the same actions he did right before he died. Needless to say, I could tell the store's celebrity ghost wasn't dangerous, but after seeing what I saw, I made sure I waited outside every time my manager had to leave me to go to the bank. I just started experiencing whatever's going on, and it's really scaring me. A few weeks ago, my sister and I went to a local graveyard to test out this ghost radar I got at the app market for my droid. I didn't think it would really work. It's just a circle with lines around it and a scanner, and if there is a so-called apparition nearby, a dot appears on the scanner in the direction it is. There was a light breeze that day, and it was sunny. We got near the graveyard and the scanner started going crazy. Dots were appearing everywhere. Red, yellow, green dots. The colors meaning the strength of the so-called entities, red being the most present and green being the least. A word or phrase appears at the bottom of the screen sometimes, like something to do with their death or whatnot. A large amount of the phrases or words began appearing, some names and some frightening words like hanged or murder. The creepiest part of the whole thing was a name appeared. The name was Peter. My sister and I started wondering if the Peter that appeared was an inhabitant of the graveyard. We started looking at gravestones, and we actually found one that said Peter Longs. It was a little scary, but then again, there's a lot of people named Peter in the world. We started talking to the so-called spirits, and like I said, is there anyone here with us that would like to share things via my radar? I started getting replies like crazy. Random words and phrases were blazing through like wildfire. We then started to go home because it was getting near dinner time. Everything was good from then on for about 2 days. My whole family started hearing footsteps, knocks, bangs, etc. My sister said that she heard her name called, and then a bottle of her perfume flew off her shelf and across the room. I later started seeing shadows and hearing muffled talking in the room next to me, even when nobody was in there. Everything was starting to scare me, so I spoke out to them and told whatever it was to leave my home. Everything was quiet and back to normal until the next night, when I was laying in my bed trying to sleep. I felt really cold all of a sudden, and my TV turned on really quick and then it turned back off again. I went to my sister's room and I saw her sitting up in her bed looking really frightened. I asked her what was the matter, and she said that her TV turned on and off again. I told her that the same thing happened to me. We were both scared as can be, so I slept in her room that night. The most recent and scariest experience I have had was when I was home alone one night because my family was out at the store and I didn't want to go. I was just watching TV and then the channel flipped. The remote was all the way across the room when that happened. Later, I got in the shower, and as I was washing my hair, I heard a knock on the bathroom door. Then the door swung open, and one of the knobs on the cabinet hanging on the wall fell to the floor. I was so scared that I called my mom and went to my neighbor's house until they got home. Everything that is happening is really scaring me, and I was just wondering if it had anything to do with the graveyard or anything else. I don't use Ouija boards or anything like that. If you could help me on how to get rid of these things in my house, it would be greatly appreciated. This is a story that didn't really happen to me, but it's still interesting. My family used to own a store about 2 or 3 years ago. It has 2 floors, the grocery store part, and the floor with apartments. And of course the basement. I guess I should say it had 3 floors. The store was very old, and many people owned it before we did. There was this one family that owned it a long time ago. The father of the family loved to hang around the store, and he and one of his sons died. The other son and his wife moved away, and a different set of owners moved in. Finally, we owned the store, and we started to notice very odd things At night, when the store was closed and we all counted the money we earned that day, we would hear the beep sound go off whenever someone walks in the store by itself. This would happen only sometimes, but my uncle would be in the store by himself real late at night and would stay in his office. He would hear the beep sound as if someone came in, but he didn't hear the doors open and there wouldn't be anyone like an intruder around. He also said that sometimes, while counting the money, he would feel like someone is behind him, staring at him. This would make him feel very uncomfortable, and he would quickly go upstairs to the second floor to his apartment. I even heard the beeper go off myself, even during the day. Now, one time, my uncle asked my grandfather to go down to the basement and get him something from there. The basement is really big and dark, and there's a lot of rooms down there that have no doors. The basement had a very uncomfortable feel to it. Anyways, my grandfather went down there and he heard someone walking. He ran out of there real quick. He ran up the stairs and pushed out the door. He told my uncle that he will never go down to get something for him again. Another time, my uncle was going through the basement, and he found some really old photos that didn't belong to us. He took them out and we looked at them, kind of like it was the history of the store. They obviously belonged to the previous store owner. I'm not sure if this is such evidence that the store was haunted, but I think it was. I mean, 2 people died there, for crying out loud. But who knows? Maybe the reason the beeper was going off was because it was broken. And maybe the basement had the uncomfortable feel to it just because of anxiety we would have whenever we would go down there. But I have no idea how to explain the footsteps down in the basement. I guess we'll never know because we don't have that store anymore. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed my story. Ghouls, I'm back! Finally, vacation is over! Makes it sound like I'm excited that it's over, but I'm not. It was so nice to not have to work and not have to wake up early and not have to worry about recording and editing, I'm not gonna lie. But it's also good to get back into the swing of recording and all of that fun stuff and editing. But yeah, did you ghouls miss me? I felt so weird not really posting I posted the one video that I did with Lupus, which, hi to the new ghouls that came here from the video that Lupus and I did together. Welcome to the ghouls. But other than that video, that's all I posted for almost a week. It's crazy. I'm used to posting and editing and, doing all that stuff. But it was a nice break. But I hope you ghouls enjoyed this video. New Jersey. My bestest buddy is from New Jersey, so if you actually watch them, Isabel, you're welcome. And I will try doing the vlog every day vlog or video every day in October. We will see how that works. I'm going to do like micro pastas, the regular video, micro pastas, and then probably Saturday and or Sunday do like a video, like either like a vlog of the week or maybe just like a sit down of me and my husband or just me so we can get to know each other a little bit more. But yes, as always, ghouls, the last video is on the top left. The next video will be on the bottom left. All my social medias are on the screen as well as in the description box below. The secret word of the day. It's gonna be decorations. Because I am about to go full on Halloween decorations up in this bitch. But remember, there's always someone or something watching you.